Welcome back to Built to Ship, the podcast where we go behind the scenes with founders and product leaders shipping real AI products into the world. Today's guest is Jeremy, founder and CEO of Augie Studio, an AI-powered video creation platform that provides everything from script to video narration, editing, and media selection. Really looking forward to the conversation. Jeremy, thanks for being on.
Thanks for inviting me on, Tyler. I'm excited to chat too.
Awesome. Well, yeah, let's start with your background and what led you to founding Augie. It seems like you have a pretty interesting background from companies like Etsy, and then some in like traditional media roles, or I don't, how you describe that. But what brought you to the idea of Augie and to kind of make the leap to start this company?
Sure. Shortest version on my career is I've basically spent 30 years building transformative digital media products in the tech sector. So most notable, when I was at Mediabolic, we built the first ever streaming box, sort of like a Roku. Sling, we were the first to do place shifting, first live TV on the internet. Had some time as a fractional CPO, launched products for Sonos, Waze, Dropcam, and others. Had another startup of my own, exited that in the mid 2010s, and then spent much of the last decade at CBS, Warner Media, as you mentioned, Etsy, and a few other things. And basically, during the pandemic, I was doing my now co-founder and I, who've been good friends for about 15 years. We were doing a podcast because neither of us could figure out sourdough, so we did a podcast instead. And
that's amazing.
We were trying to figure out how to grow it, right? Because we're both guys who like take stuff seriously. We were trying to grow the thing, and we were having a good time with it. But I kept reading article after article about make a video trailer. And so, but neither of us wanted to make a video podcast. We were enjoying just kind of relax with the audio only. So I was reading on how to make video, and I actually had access to Creative Cloud. I was at Warner Media, so I had all of the tools. I even had amazing people around me who offered to help. And I mean, that's when I went gray. I'll just say it that way. Before then I had perfect flowing hair, but no, I couldn't figure it out. And I recognize whether it's old dog, new tricks, or just, let's face it, tools like Adobe Premiere Pro, they're designed for professionals, right? They're designed to make Interstellar, not my crappy podcast preview marketing promo video. And I thought about using CapCut, but I didn't want to do sort of influencer style video. I wanted it to be completely different than that. And I kept thinking about it, and I never solved it, by the way. And when I left Warner in the fall of 21, I had been starting to really noodle around this idea of like, what if we could just make video editing easier for people who are trying to promote something? That was the whole thing. Everybody's got something they're trying to promote, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a movie, whether it's just, selling water bottles, whatever they're trying to do. What if we can make that easier for people who, like me, didn't want to be on screen? And that was the birth of Augie, in probably slightly too long a description.
No, that's amazing. Honestly, I don't think we're going to have enough time for me to ask all the questions I want to, because you have an incredibly interesting career. Maybe the first thing I'll start with is like, what was the space you enjoyed the most, or the role you enjoyed the most, whether it's like the industry or the type of role? Like you've kind of done a lot of, incredible things. Is it Augie right now? What are the things
Tyler, you seem like a nice guy, and I think that's a very mean question, because I've worked on so many interesting things. I will share one of my favorite journey. Augie's an amazing part of my career and life, but I want to almost deliberately go back a little bit. My time at Sling back 19 or so years ago, we were 11 people at first to ship a hardware product that ended up being highly transformative in the space. It was a team assembled. I mean, the founders of this company put together this unbelievable team. Most of us in some way or another are still in touch, to the point where my lead architect was my coworker 20 years ago at Sling. And it was the first time in my career, actually, when I left, that I really had to scratch my head with, I don't know what I want to do after all that. It was like you just finished like the best roller coaster ride at Six Flags, and you're like, you want to do the flume, or like wasn't sure what to do.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. No, I feel like one of the reasons that I went back to startup world was I really love working with people who are similarly ambitious, that have like, varying skill sets that complement each other. And there's just something magical about having that like powerful team. So it sounds like maybe it was maybe the product in the industry, but also just the people there that stood out.
Well, in each case, it's going to be people. So if I really go on that, it's going to be Augie today, obviously. It's going to be my time at CNET. That was, 4 years with a wonderful team. People above me, my peers, people who work for me. It was really, really great. And Sling as well. It's not to say that the other times weren't great. I spent a couple of years running a small consultancy with a couple of guys. We just had a blast the whole time. But I think those were sort of the biggest combination of like doing meaningful work and working with an amazing team of people. So those are the ones that come to mind most on those.
Amazing. And you mentioned that you were founder previously. Are you doing kind of anything different from the last time with starting Augie? Do you have the same philosophy?
Well, it's the world's changed a little bit, I think, since the last one. The last one was a decade ago. And so that company was called Digit. We built an app called Next Guide. It was basically a hyper-personalized TV guide to help you find what to watch next. We had live and streaming all in the same view. The only thing that I think is similar about the world today is that we're still watching a lot of video, right? That's, everything else changed. How we built the company, right? At the time, there was, it was 2014, right? So there was no AI coding or et cetera, right? There were it was a little, I'm not going to say primitive because it was also a very advanced and mature time in tech, but it was sort of the heyday of iPad apps. If you want to give a real framework for time, like that was when still people thought about iPad apps as a special thing. So what I will say that's the same is the way we approach building the product, right? Which is very, sort of tried and true, is build a little bit, figure out what people like, go build a lot more of that. If anything, I'd say actually this time around, we've probably overbuilt a certain degree of anticipation of features, right? Where, the reality of the things you could do with video, it's a pretty long list. So I think probably the biggest comparison against the two is back when we were doing Next Guide, we could sort of go in any direction we wanted to with things. There was no precedent for what's a great TV discovery experience because candidly, we still don't have great ones. Whereas in video, we're here like we're like the electric drill or the power wrench or whatever the tool is, helping you do your job. And so we've had to really be very mindful now where we're trying to align the product with exactly what people need of it. So when our customers go through a thing and all of a sudden we start getting a couple notes like, hey, you're missing this font, right? Like it might sound like a simple thing. That might become the highest priority item of the week is get that font in, whether we have to license it, whatever we have to do. Whereas with NextGuide and most of my prior other startups, there was much less sort of urgency. We weren't on the productive side. We were more on the entertaining side. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm, totally. Yeah. Well, and when you mentioned like, hey, we might change priority like in a given week, is that just because of the stage of the company, or does that also have to do with like the tools that are available now in terms of, you mentioned like AI coding and things like that?
I think it's a little of both, to be honest. I think if we weren't in the AI world and et cetera, it might be a very different calling. But when all of a sudden everybody wants to go to chat style interfaces, that puts a company into a decision space, right? Whereas 10 years ago, that wasn't happening, right? Today, we live at a time where, not everybody, a lot of companies are using and licensing OpenAI. And candidly, we used to joke like 20 years ago, you'd get a VC to be like, what if Google did what you're doing? And it wasn't a joke. It was sort of a litmus test question, but it was also ridiculous because Google didn't operate that way. OpenAI does. OpenAI, we don't know. I've heard rumors they're building a browser. I've heard rumors they're building a mail client. I've heard rumors they're building an office suite. I could expect anything out of this company. And it wouldn't disappoint me if all they do is what they're currently doing. So there's so many more unknowns in this world today that I feel we have to be very, very like, is it windy now? Oh, not windy now? Okay, don't do the windy thing. Do this other thing, right?
Totally. And that's like unknowns even though you're super plugged into the space and you're leading in, video AI, for your customers, it's probably even more unknowns, right? Like it's even more like, how do they keep up with everything? Do you hear that from them? What kind of challenges do you hear from your customers?
There's a lot of that. Our customers are often asking, what are later style trends or things like that. So we actually added a feature. It's funny, we quietly snuck in a feature a week ago where now there's like 20 predefined styles you can just apply to your video, and go try it. Give us some feedback. We'd love to hear. We are, but we are always trying to pay attention to what is happening in the landscape of marketing videos. We are. I mean, I think the easy thing for us is we're not watching like. We're watching, but we're not influenced by maybe entertainment category videos. So it's less relevant what's happening in a Marvel movie or a Mr. Beast video or a daily dose of internet kind of thing. But it's super relevant. How do movie trailers look? How are brands promoting themselves? How are publishers creating new video asset inventory? So we're very, very focused on that side of things.
Amazing. Okay. Well, I'd love to, get a walkthrough for our listeners. Like, what does it look like to use Augie? How does someone go from an idea or a script to a finished video?
Well, we could take a chance and do a live demo if you want.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Nothing like a good live on the spot demo. Let's see the screen sharing. Share screen. Here we go. All right. You can see my screen okay?
Yep.
All right, let's go. We're going to make a video right as we go. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. This is my dashboard. These are all the videos I've made in the past. As you can see, there's many. I'm going to hit this create button. And what we found from our users is these are the 4 kinds of videos they make the most often. Simple sizzle reel. Highlighter is the name of our feature to make short clips from long clips, narration-based videos, and then basically a simple step-by-step builder. We're going to do the narration one because it's honestly the most fun demo to give. Now, one thing about Augie, for everybody to hear this, is all of the content we give you is rights included. So we have AI voices, synthetic voices, all with commercial rights. We have stock content from Getty Images, all with commercial rights. So everything we do is rights included. And every time we use AI, we inform you, and it's optional. So for those of you who maybe don't want to use AI writing, you can write your script yourself. In fact, you can upload your narration yourself right off the bat. But I'm going to write us a script. I'm going to do it. We're going to do everything from scratch here. I'm going to pick a category, thought leadership, and I'm going to leave energetic as a tone. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot, bud. Can you give me a hobby or pastime or something that you're into that we can make a simple little thought leadership video about?
Sure. Let's do something about water skiing.
Water skiing.
Which is kind of an old sport that's not as popular anymore. Let's bring it back.
Cool. I'm going to just say water skiing. I'm not going to say anything else. All right. And what Augie's now doing is it's written us a script. We can come in, make edits. I can regenerate it, or I can just decide it's fine. We'll say it's fine for now. I can record it myself. I can clone my voice. Or as I said before, we have a few hundred synthetic voices. By the way, we've tried to be very inclusive. So here's some different examples.
Hi, I'm Amritanshu, and I'll be...
Hi, I'm Amy, and I'll be... Hi, I'm Andrea, and I'll be the voice of your Augie today.
I'm going to go with Andrew. It's my dad's name. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit generate a preview. And so this will make our first audio track. This takes about usually 5 to 15 or so seconds. Just in the interest of your audience time, I'm going to move very fast. I'm going to skip that. I'm also going to tell Augie to suggest content for me, right? I didn't pick the topic. I didn't know it would be water skiing. I don't have any water skiing footage. So go ahead, make video for me. And so what you'll see happen here is over the next 2 minutes, Augie will start doing all the tasks and everything will just show up. In the, again, interest of not just sitting around watching for 2 minutes, I'm going to keep going. Can I make a second demo while we're at it?
Sure. But real quick, I'm curious, like, what is happening in the background here? Like, are there agentic systems? Like, what's the under the hood technology using lane graph, lane chain, or direct calls to LLMs or other,
Yes, to about half of what you said. So we go to 11 labs to have it write our script, to voice our script. We bring that back into the system, and then we use Amazon's transcription service to get a millisecond level. When is every word said? Who are all the speakers? All that kind of stuff. We analyze all of that for tone and etc. using a couple of LLMs. We then break the whole thing down into component parts based on the cadence of the speaker's voice. We do that with different LLMs. We then analyze what happens in each slot of the storyboard and fill it with a suggested content based on visual matching, again, through yet another LLM. So what it's doing is voicing the video, breaking that up into a storyboard, and figuring out initial proposed content for the storyboard. Make sense?
Amazing. It sounds like, yeah, it sounds like those are pretty componentized, if I'm right, which is smart because they, you have different solutions for each part. You're not just asking like, one shot, one thing to do it. How do you manage the connection between all of those different pieces? Is there a framework you use, or is that like LangChain or something? Or
no, that is the underlying framework of our system. I mean, that's what we built for the past 3 years. So that's our own platform, basically.
Amazing.
So
and how do you handle sorry, go for it. Show me this. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to show one thing because I think you might even like this one. So let's say you have, the first example is what if you have nothing, right? Let's make a video from nothing. The second example is what if you have too much, right? And so in this case, I'm going to take a video I made already. I'm going to take another podcast actually that I recorded. Here we go. It's 32 and a half minutes long. And what I want to do is make a snippet for social, because 32 minutes is fine for a whole episode, as you know. But if you want to go get, put a teaser out, or again, think back to the very beginning of this company's history, if you want to make a trailer for your podcast, we just think it should be a lot easier. So what Highlighter is doing for you right now is generating a whole transcript, doing speaker voice detection, and making 3 suggested highlight reels from your long form content, all before we even give the user anything to do, which should pop in any second here. There we go. Look at that timing. So what you can see here is the whole transcript, right? It's 32 minutes long. I can download this onto my drive if I want. And over here, I've got 3 suggested clips from this video. Because we use AI for it, I actually have no idea what it's going to pick any given time. So if I want to say, well, all right, power of authenticity, let's see what it does.
I think it's really, really hard to recognize a pivot. And it was something I had realized I was missing in advertising, which was it's 6 degrees.
And so it's made this whole suggested clips from us. And now let's go take a look. You can see here, we call this highlighter because basically if I wanted to add copy, for example, I think this sentence is missing context. I'm going to add by highlighting a few more words to it. And while we're at it, though, I'm also going to trim out just the word and. And now let's take a look at what we did.
There was something that had happened where we made stuff, and it was something I had realized I was missing.
And so on the next step, we could go and add closed captions and all those other features. But basically, we made it that if you can use a Google Doc, and to the point where, if I clear all the highlights, I can just start grabbing individual words and make myself a video. So that's our highlighter feature. And
what I love about that is, like you were mentioning, how a lot of people are thinking of AI as just a chat interface. I like that you guys have really put a lot of work into the actual UI and UX where, it's a mix. Like, hey, in this case, it would be really annoying to have to like chat back and forth with an agent to say, no, add this part to the clip or something. And so you just add like a highlighting system, right?
We've tried to think of what would be the easiest for people. Well, what's the least learning curve, biggest bang for the buck. By the way, you can use Highlighter just by going to our website. You don't even have to have an account to get started. We let you use it for free. We even have some sample like TED Talks and stuff if you want to experiment around. Let's take a look at our water skiing video, shall we?
Let's do it.
So Augie, we'll start with a rough cut report. This is sort of like telling you, hey, this is your first draft. We've saved you an hour of your day, but we think you need more time to make this right. We're not saying this is like you could ship it, but we believe that the human in the loop, especially on video content, is so important, right? Like what you might want out of a water skiing video, what I might want out of it might be very, very different things. And the AI may or may not get either of those. But let's see what it did do.
Whether you're zipping across the lake for the first time or shredding the wake like a pro, water skiing is an exhilarating sport that brings people together, regardless of age. Mastering the art of balancing on the water instantly elevates your summer adventures and allows you to embrace the thrill of speed and motion. With expert tips and...
So It's got the gist of it. I can see there's a bunch of water skiing content, but it didn't get it quite right. Like, first of all, that's some kind of board. It's not a water ski,
The wakeboard, right? Yep. Mm-hmm.
So let's fix that. We're going to go over here, and you can see the AI has taken this phrase and made some suggested matches for it. None of those are quite right, so I'm just going to switch it to water skiing. And there's, look at this. We can see, oh no, it's another board. By the way, we can also hover over here and even see what content is coming out of Getty. The problem is, because a lot of the content that goes there, even though it's all professionally sourced, it's all tagged by humans. So if I really want to make sure there's water skiing in this video, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say the context is now water skiing, go. And what this will do is apply a second layer filter on everything Getty's given us here to try to find a better match. Now, I don't know what footage they actually have. There's one. There's some water skiing.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's part of how easy it is to replace your content. So if you've done any video editing, there's a term called keyframe alignment, and that's basically making sure words and video are aligned. In Augie, we do it with your actual words. So this segment starts with "wake like a pro." And so if I wanted, again, assuming this was a proper clip, I could just quickly grab that, throw that in there. But also, I might want to use my own footage, right? Stock content's one thing, but my own content's even better. And so right here, I have some footage from last year's Silicon Alley sports tournament. Check this out. When you upload video to Augie, and by the way, when you upload content, it's yours, not ours. We're not building our own model off your stuff. We're not stealing your stuff. We're not copying your stuff. It's your stuff. So we do provide computer vision, though. So I've uploaded this clip. It's 25 minutes of a variety of golf and pickleball. I want to find all the golf swings. I know this isn't relevant for our water skiing video, but if I was trying to make a video and find all the golf swings, isn't it nice to have them just here in one click? Or let's find a pickleball serve. Or let's see her. Let's find a woman in a pink top. And that's so awesome. There, so you can find all sorts of things anywhere.
So like in that case, you're doing something super specific. Like you don't know how a user's going to describe that woman. Is it going to be the pink top? Is it going to be her haircut? Something like that. How did you guys, as you're building this complex system, like how did you handle evals? Like how did you, the first time you added that computer vision part, I'm sure it wasn't perfect. So how do you handle that as you're trying to iterate?
This is, to be candid, where the world of AI makes things so much easier, is that we didn't have to invent it all, right? There's an existing model out there that we can simply apply. We use a technology called vector embeddings, which basically I don't even know if I can explain vector embeddings in a few seconds, but basically imagine that that everything that is in the visuals is knowable, but not necessarily known. So in other words, instead of taking a picture and saying, what are all the tags in it, being able to query a picture and say, is this tag in it? So we can ask the video, is there water skiing? Is there a golf swing? Is there a woman in a pink top? And it knows on a frame by frame basis if that's true or not. So
for these models and tools that you use, do you find that whether it's 11 Labs or whatever you're using for computer vision, do you find that out of the box they just work, or is there any sort of tuning or configuration you have to do?
Out of the box, all of them actually work. I would sort of say, it's similar in a way to thinking about how you might use ChatGPT. You can just say, write me an email to Tyler that I had a great time on his podcast, and it'll do a fine job. I could also say you are an expert at building networks and communities and yada, yada, yada. So send a follow-up email to Tyler, ensuring that our future relationship, yada, yada, whatever, right? I can build a very in-depth prompt. They'll both get me a workable answer. Just one will be a lot better than the other. Similar things with all the models we use. So doing computer vision and understanding if it was working well and there were vector embeddings, all those things, super easy. Making sure that we're getting the right clips. So for example, if the woman in pink top is in, let's just say over a 10-minute span, let's say she's on screen for a minute and a half of it, non-consecutively. Well, we know that over that 10 minutes and the 30 frame per second is 360,000 frames. We know she's going to be in a lot of frames. So if we try to present to the user, here's every time we found her, it would be a disaster because they don't want every frame. What they want is the clip. So that's, for example, where a lot of our own logic and some of it, prompting logic and some of the coding logic comes to play so that we give the user what they're hoping, which is with a pink top. Cool, put that in my video.
Amazing. No, this is a really impressive product, and I feel like you guys have done a good job of leveraging existing tech, adding on your own infrastructure, and really developing a good user experience. You said it took around 3 years or so to build. How big's the team, and like what is the makeup of that team to accomplish something like this?
Well, we've been bigger at different times. Now we're very lean and focused. So we're 6 people today, 4 programmers, basic full stack engineers, and my co-founders are CPO/COO/do everything, and I do all the rest. So at earlier times, though, we've had full-time design support, we had full-time marketing support, and we've just been sort of shifting those balances around as we grow and basically just try to be a very efficient startup. I think there's one thing I've learned over the years is, you want to really try to make as many right decisions the first time as you can.
Totally. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing that. I love the live demo, and I've really enjoyed the conversation. Where's a good place for folks to follow you and follow Augie?
Thanks. I enjoyed the chat as well. You can try out Augie at augie.studio. You can create a free account. You have lots and lots of stuff for free. And then at the premium tier, you get access to all of the Getty stuff, all the generative stuff, and etc. By the way, I didn't even show you generative video, which we also have baked into the platform. So augie.studio, and you can find me on LinkedIn and anywhere else. Just search for my name. You'll find me pretty fast.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Jeremy. It's been great chatting, and definitely gonna send Augie over to the team and check it out. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Tyler. Great chatting with you as well. And everyone have a great day.
Awesome. Bye now.